chaos lie this weekend? I've kind of scrolled down through the games. I mean, I think the obvious one prior to last Saturday night would have been TCU's trip to Baylor, but the way Kansas State cut them into little pieces. I mean, you don't get the same team every week, and TCU's bound to have a little bit of a challenge to regain that emotional edge that they had in Austin Saturday night. And Baylor's probably a little embarrassed. So you think, they're going to be kind of last stand against the wall. But it's really hard to find that thing that's going to turn it upside down on Saturday that is obvious. But of course, that by definition is why you don't always see it, right?
Let's first of all give Kansas State credit for some of like the most random authoritative beatdowns of the year. Like in games that they weren't like 21-point favorites in, they just absolutely curb stomped some teams. So they did it to Missouri earlier in the year, right? Of course, then they went out and laid an egg against Tulane, who we've learned is pretty good.
It's good.
And then they beat Oklahoma State 48-0. On the heels of barely beating Iowa State, on the heels of losing to TCU, they just out of nowhere just completely skunked Oklahoma State, which had a bunch of injuries and everything, but I don't care. Like, that's a good program, and nobody beats them by a 50 burger. And then they came back and just swallowed Baylor whole 2 weeks later. So none of those games going in would I have had any inclination that they would have won by 5 touchdowns. Right now, certainly Kansas State's great. You were bullish on them going into the year. I'm a big fan of their DNA and, their defense with Joe Klanderman, and Colin Klein as first year play caller has done a great job. Both quarterbacks have played really well. Like, I like K-State, but they've come from the top rope a few times when nobody thought they were in the ring. It's been a weird, like, that's just been one of the weirder quirks of the season, that they've been able to just really deliver some astounding performances. So to get back to your Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and they're right on the cusp of making it. And they, absent Tulane, they really haven't had the bad performance. But, going to West Virginia, I mean, that could be a little tricky Saturday, right?
Oh, sure. And give West Virginia credit. They switched quarterbacks to the runner Green, and he gave them a spark. I watched a bunch of that game on Saturday. It was like a pure emotion home win. They hadn't beaten Oklahoma. Give Neil Brown a lot of credit with his job in the crosshairs. I mean, his team really played well for him, and we've seen a lot of times over the years when a coach is in flux, sometimes the team, doesn't show up. And boy, they showed up with alacrity on Saturday. So, I mean, at this point, house money, right? You're going to be playing and coaching pretty free and easy. So if we're looking for chaos on Saturday's slate, I don't sense a lot of it. There's some good games, like the 2 Pac-12 games that are high end. Neither quarter upset. USC's favored by 2.5. Ducks are favored by a field goal. I would think Utah has a pretty good chance to win. I don't think this Maryland team right now can really. The air's out of the balloon there a little bit. The way they performed the last couple of weeks, I don't see them. People have brought up the Ohio State time they had to beat them in overtime when Urban was still there. I don't see that happening. I think West Virginia, at home, that's only a 7.5 point spread. I think that's good. Let me throw this out there. I think Illinois stylistically matches up well with Michigan.
That's fair.
And Michigan is not a team that's like, now they have beaten teams soundly, but it's sort of like a slow meat grinder, like process. They're not going to be up 28-0 at the end of the first quarter. And look, they beat you because their defense is elite. Their special teams, especially at Michigan, have been elite. But I do think that when I'm imagining it's going to be a cold, blustery day in Ann Arbor, I think Illinois could, if that's 10-7 in the third, I'm not going to flinch.
Well, I can tell you on the Picks pod on Friday, I mean, that number is 18.5. And I'm one of the people, I think Michigan's really good. I know that their resume may not indicate such, but watching them play, I think that's a really solid, physical, tough, great running game. Heisman Trophy candidate running back, Blake Corum. I think they're really good. And it's not that I think Illinois' defense is, just impenetrable, but they are third in the nation scoring defense. Michigan's number one. I am definitely taking the 18.5. I mean, for sure, I'm taking the 18.5. Now, I don't think it's going to be a nail biter, a white knuckler at the end, but I mean, 3 touchdowns with the defense and the style like that and the limited possessions of both teams. That probably means Michigan's going to win 49-7, but I'm not with defenses like that and the weather you mentioned, and the fact that, Illinois has been pretty good against the spread as a road underdog.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.